My name is Molly Mills, and I'm 38 years old. Until a few months ago, I thought I had my life mostly figured out. I wasn't living some glittery movie romance, but it was stable, predictable. We had a decent three-bedroom ranch in a quiet neighborhood in Colorado Springs, with a yard my dad used to joke was HOA commercial ready. I've been an operations manager at a logistics company for years. Spreadsheets, schedules, solving problems before anyone knows they exist. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, and I'm good at it. My husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, is Daniel. He's 36. We've been together since I was 21. 17 years of shared holidays, shared furniture, shared toothbrush drawers. High school sweethearts who somehow survived college and those chaotic early 20s when everyone else was breaking up or moving away. That's the version of the story I used to tell at dinner parties. Now, when I look back, all I see are warning signs I kept sanding down into something prettier. About 3 years ago, Daniel decided he was done with his boring but steady office job and wanted growth. That was his word, not mine. Growth. He found a position at a tech startup downtown, one of those companies with kombucha on tap and neon signs about innovation on exposed brick walls. The pay was lower, but he swore it would be temporary. 2 years tops, he told me, leaning on the kitchen island while I made dinner. I build experience there, then I'll be making more than I did before. This is how people move up now, Moll. You jump to grow. 2 years turned into 8. His salary barely moved. The only things that grew were his job title and his access to unlimited PTO that no one ever actually used. Meanwhile, I carried the financial weight. The mortgage, $1,750 a month, came out of my account alone. Groceries, utilities, insurance, the little unexpected things like the water heater dying or tires needing replacement. Me. I adjusted my budget, cut back on my own hobbies, and told myself this was what partners do. You support each other's dreams. We also spent 4 years chasing a different dream, the one with tiny socks and daycare waitlists. We dropped $40,000 on fertility treatments, money insurance basically shrugged at. I still remember the cold exam rooms, the chemical smell, the hopeful nurse voices saying, "This cycle looks good, let's just see." Every month was the same cycle of charts, shots, hope, and then bleeding. Eventually we stopped. Or maybe I did. I don't even know anymore. I thought Daniel took it harder. He'd go quiet when we passed playgrounds, stare too long at family holiday photos on social media. Sometimes I'd hear him in the shower, just standing there with the water running too long. Now looking back, I wonder if he felt something closer to relief. No kids meant no custody, no child support, no reason not to walk away when he wanted to. Our life settled into a routine. I'd wake up at 6, hit the gym, mostly because my dad had a heart attack at 55 and I'm not interested in that rerun, then head to work. Come home around 6, start dinner. Daniel's hours were flexible, which meant I never really knew when to expect him. He'd wander in around 6:30 or 7 or 9. At first, it was just the occasional late night. "Big project," he'd say, dropping his bag by the door. "We're under insane deadlines, babe. Startups are a different world." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Then occasional turned into a pattern. 1 late night a week, then 2, then 4. He was glued to his phone, too. Constantly texting, always with this little half smile I used to think was cute. If I asked who it was, the answer was always the same. "Just the team group chat. We're putting out fires. Go back to your spreadsheets, boss lady." I laughed it off. I'd been managing operations long enough to recognize stressed banter when I heard it. Still, something started to feel off, like a picture frame slightly crooked. You can live with it until one day you can't see anything else. A few months before everything blew up, Daniel announced he'd joined a gym downtown, a boutique fitness place in the same building as his office, of course. "You hate gyms," I reminded him, pouring coffee. "Your idea of cardio is switching streaming platforms." "This place is different," he said, eyes shining a little too brightly. "They've got spin, boxing, high IT, all that." And my boss goes, "So leadership kind of expects us to take care of ourselves, you know?" His boss. Her name was Camille Porter. I'd heard it enough times to feel like I knew her. Sharp, visionary, so inspiring. Daniel talked about her the way people talk about TED Talks. He started buying new clothes too. Athletic wear, designer work shirts, shoes that cost more than my monthly car insurance. Our joint card statements ballooned. $300 here, 500 there, 800 at some boutique I couldn't pronounce. When I brought it up, gently, because I hate feeling like someone's financial parole officer, he got defensive. "Molly, I'm allowed to feel good about myself," he snapped one night, stuffing a receipt into his pocket. "I've sacrificed a lot. Isn't that what you always say? Self-care?" I could have argued. Instead, I chose peace, or what I thought was peace. "Pick your battles," I told myself. "He's stressed. The job will pay off eventually. 2 more years, maybe 3. So I tried to fix the parts I could control. I planned date nights at restaurants I knew he'd mentioned, dropped suggestions about a little weekend getaway, maybe Denver, maybe somewhere with mountains and hot tubs. I researched couples retreats, the kind where you sit in circle chairs and learn to use "I feel" statements instead of weaponizing silence. Every idea ran into the same wall. Too busy, too expensive, too far away, not the right time. He always had a reason. He always had his phone in his hand. By the time late August rolled around, something in the air in our house felt permanently heavy, like that thick stillness right before a thunderstorm. I remember the exact moment it shifted from "something is wrong" to "everything is about to break." It was a Tuesday. I came home from work in my usual uniform, navy slacks, button down, buns starting to sag after a 10-hour day. The house was quiet, unnervingly so. No TV, no music, no clinking dishes. Daniel walked out of the bedroom wearing joggers and one of those fitted athletic tops he'd recently become obsessed with. His hair was styled like he was about to shoot a commercial, not lounge on the couch. "Moll," he said, voice too serious, "we need to talk." Those 4 words should be printed on hazard labels. They never mean, "I bought you flowers for no reason." My stomach dropped. I set my laptop bag down slowly and sat on the edge of the couch. "Okay," I said, "what's going on?" He started pacing like he was rehearsing for a presentation. "I've been thinking a lot about us," he said, "about our marriage, where we are, where we're going." Corporate buzzwords. That's what I heard, like he was giving feedback in a performance review. "All right," I said carefully, keeping my tone neutral. "Years of managing crises taught me how to stay calm while everything burns. What brought this on?" "I just feel like we're stuck in a rut," he said. "We're roommates more than partners. There's no excitement, no passion, no growth." There it was again, growth. If I never hear that word dragged through a relationship again, it'll be too soon. "So what are you saying?" I asked. "You want a divorce?" His eyes widened. No, that's not what I want. I just think we need space, time apart, to work on ourselves individually so we can be better together." I stared at him. "You want a separation?" "Just for 2 weeks," he said quickly. "A trial separation. No contact, no check-ins, just time. 14 days to figure out what we really want." It sounded like something ripped straight from a podcast about conscious uncoupling. I could practically hear the influencer voiceover. "Daniel," I said slowly, "running away from each other is not how you fix a marriage. We should be talking, not scheduling a vacation from our problems." "I'm not running away," he insisted, eyes starting to shine, that wounded expression I'd seen too many times. "I'm trying to save us. Please, Moll, if you love me, you'll give me this." There it was, the trap. If I said no, I'd be the controlling wife suffocating his growth. If I said yes, I'd be handing him a permission slip for whatever he'd already planned. "Where would you even go?" I asked, though part of me already knew I wasn't going to like the answer. "I already talked to Liam," he said. "He said I could stay with him, just for a couple weeks. Already arranged. Bags probably already half packed. Decisions made without me, about me." "When would this start?" I asked, my voice quieter now. "Tomorrow," he said. I already packed a bag. Of course he had. In that moment, I had a flash of clarity. I should have said no. I should have dug my heels in and said, "We're seeing a counselor. We're having actual conversations. We're not turning our marriage into a self-help experiment." Instead, I was tired. Tired of being the only one trying. Tired of talking to someone whose eyes were always on a glowing screen. "Fine," I said. 2 weeks. But at the end of those 2 weeks, we talk. No extensions, no moving goalposts. Relief washed over his face so fast it was almost obscene. "Thank you," he said, crossing the room to give me a hug that felt more like a formality than comfort. He disappeared into the bedroom and came back with a medium-sized black suitcase, the same one we'd bought for our honeymoon. Somehow, that hurt more than anything he'd said. "I'll text you when I get to Liam's," he said. I just nodded. Then he walked out. No lingering look back, no last minute, "Are you sure?" Just the click of the door, and the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. I sat on the couch for a long time, staring at the dent his body had left on the cushions, listening to the refrigerator hum and the air conditioner kick on like nothing had changed. But something had. I didn't know it yet, but those 2 weeks to work on ourselves were about to burn 17 years of my life to the ground. When Daniel left that night, I told myself I'd use the 2 weeks wisely. Work out more, go to bed early, cook something other than chicken and rice. Maybe I'd finally finish that stack of unread books on my nightstand. I even tried to convince myself that space might help us both reset. Day 1 was quiet, too quiet. I cooked dinner for one, plated it neatly out of habit, and then stared at the second empty spot at the table until I finally shoved the dish into the sink. I kept expecting Daniel to text something, an update, a quick, "got here safe," anything. He didn't. Day 2 was easier in the sense that I knew what to expect. Nothing. I worked late, came home, microwaved leftovers, watched a crime documentary I'd been saving, and tied my hair up in a messy bun because no one was home to care how I looked. Maybe this was the space he wanted. Maybe this was the breath he needed. Then came day 3. I was sitting in my car during my lunch break, eating a turkey wrap and half listening to a podcast I wasn't actually processing, when I made a mistake I never should have made. I opened Instagram. I don't know what I was hoping to see, a random cat video, a new recipe, anything benign. What I saw instead stopped my breathing cold. A photo, posted 2 minutes earlier. Daniel, on a beach. Sunset behind him, painting the sky in ocean pinks. A cocktail in his hand, complete with a tiny umbrella. Smiling, no, glowing, in a way I hadn't seen in years. His caption read, "Sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself." I stared at that sentence so long my lunch started to sweat. Lose himself? He wasn't lost. He wasn't in therapy. He wasn't having a spiritual awakening. He was supposed to be staying at Liam's apartment, figuring out what he wanted. But I kept scrolling. The next photo in the carousel made my vision tunnel. Daniel again. But this time he wasn't alone. A woman was leaning into him, her arm around his waist, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Both of them smiling directly at the camera, like they were in a brochure for couples retreats. Her face was unmistakable. Camille. His boss. The woman he'd talked about for months. The one who went to his fancy gym. The one he said was so inspiring. The one he mimicked during arguments when he wanted to sound more emotionally evolved. I zoomed in on the picture. Camille's head was tilted toward his shoulder. His hand rested casually on her hip. And then I saw the caption under the image. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Not Liam's apartment. Not even the same country. My stomach flipped violently, but I kept scrolling. More photos. Daniel and Camille at a beachfront restaurant. Daniel and Camille laughing with their heads thrown back. Daniel and Camille toasting champagne. The comments were a slap in the face. "You look so happy." "About time. Living your best life, babe." Finally. Finally. What did that mean? Finally he left his wife? Finally he chose Camille? Finally he admitted the affair? And the worst thought hit me like a blow. They weren't surprised. They weren't confused. They weren't asking where I was. They already knew. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. Once. Twice. Then I forced myself to breathe and do the only logical thing. I took screenshots, every photo, every comment, every caption, every tag, every detail. Then I kept going. I clicked Camille's profile. It was mostly work posts and inspirational quotes, but 2 days earlier she'd added a story, a boomerang of 2 champagne glasses clinking over turquoise water. Daniel's arm was in the frame. I saved that too. By the time I'd finished documenting, something inside me had gone quiet. Not empty, not numb, just quiet. Like a fire had burned itself down to coals, still glowing beneath the ash. I called the one person I knew would tell me the truth no matter how ugly it was. My best friend, Kevin. He picked up on the first ring. "Molly, what's wrong?" "Daniel is in Mexico," I said. My voice didn't even crack. "With Camille. He posted pictures." Silence. Then Kevin exhaled so sharply I heard it through the phone. "Send them to me, now." I sent everything. He looked at the pictures for a long time before speaking. "Moll," he said finally, voice low and steady. "This wasn't a break. This was an exit plan." I closed my eyes. "I know. You need to protect yourself. Check the accounts. All of them. Bank, credit cards, and screenshot everything. Do not confront him. Do not call him. He's expecting you to react emotionally. Don't give him that." "I won't." "And Molly?" "Yeah?" Get a lawyer, a good one. That was the moment the grief hardened into resolve. When I got home that evening, I dumped my purse on the dining table, opened my laptop, logged into our shared bank accounts, and felt my heart drop again. The spending, the patterns. It was all right there in black and white. 3 months of hotel charges in Denver on weekday afternoons, receipts for dinners at restaurants I'd never heard of, designer clothing purchases, a jewelry store charge for $850. 2 months ago, flower deliveries to an address I didn't recognize. I opened a new spreadsheet, started building a timeline, cross-referenced hotel charges with nights he'd worked late, matched restaurant bills with texts where he'd claimed to be stuck with the team. The puzzle pieces weren't pieces, they were neon billboards. This wasn't spontaneous, this wasn't sudden, this wasn't accidental. This was planned, built, nurtured. The break wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the end of the end. And he'd only told me after he knew he'd have somewhere soft to land, with Camille. I stared at the spreadsheet for a long time, then opened a new tab and typed, Top Divorce Attorneys, Colorado Springs. One name appeared over and over, always with the same description. Mitchell Hayes, aggressive, strategic, relentless. Perfect. I filled out the consultation form. Time selected. Tomorrow. 8:00 a.m. Reason. Filing for divorce. Urgent. Then I sat back, stared at the dark window, and whispered to the empty house. All right, Daniel, you wanted space? I closed my laptop. Now you're going to get it. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Daniel's arm around Camille's waist, her leaning into him like she belonged there. The sunset behind them like some twisted blessing. But by morning, exhaustion had burned itself into focus. At 7:45 a.m., I stood outside a polished glass building downtown, clutching a folder filled with screenshots, bank statements, and the timeline I'd spent half the night assembling. At exactly 8:00, Mitchell Hayes' paralegal opened the door. Mrs. Mills, he's ready for you. Mrs. Mills. Funny how fast those words turned sour. Mitchell's office looked exactly like I imagined. Leather chairs, towering bookshelves, a desk so immaculate it felt intimidating. Mitchell himself, silver hair, expensive navy suit, stood as I entered. Ms. Mills, he said warmly, shaking my hand. I reviewed your intake form. Why don't you tell me what's going on? I opened my folder, spread out the screenshots, pushed the printed bank statements across the table. My husband asked for a 2-week separation, I said, hearing the steadiness in my own voice. 3 days later, he's in Mexico with his boss. Mitchell's eyes lowered to the photos. His brows lifted slightly, a lawyer's version of shock. Well, he murmured, that is blatant. And it's been going on for months. I slid the spreadsheet to him. Hotel receipts, late-night dinners, jewelry, flowers to another address. He flipped through the pages with a practiced efficiency. How long have you been married? 17 years. Children? No. Mortgage? I've been paying it alone for 8 years. I highlighted the bank records. He nodded with approval. You're extremely thorough, Ms. Mills. Most clients show up with tears and chaos. You showed up with evidence. I shrugged lightly. I manage operations. Documentation is my entire personality at work. He gave a small smile. Here's what I recommend, he said. We file immediately, before he even returns from this trip. You have overwhelming evidence of a long-term affair. We'll petition for temporary exclusive use of the house, freeze joint accounts, secure your assets. What about changing the locks? After he's served, Mitchell said, it strengthens the timeline. Once he abandons the marital residence voluntarily, and he did, your claim is very strong. He slid the forms toward me. When you sign these, it begins. I signed. Not with shaking hands. With certainty. He got served while still in Mexico. Daniel was served at 4:12 p.m., according to Mitchell's email. 14 seconds later, my phone lit up. Daniel, Molly, what the hell did you do? Daniel, are you out of your mind? Daniel, we were supposed to be working on things. Working on things? He was literally on a beach with another woman. I forwarded every text to Mitchell. He replied in under a minute. Do not respond. Document everything. So I didn't. Then Daniel tried calling. 5 times, then 7. By the 10th missed call, I turned my phone face down on the coffee table. Silence. Until a new message popped up from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown number. Molly, it's me. Please pick up. We need to talk about this. Blocked. 2 minutes later, another number. Unknown number. Moll, please. I made one mistake. don't throw away 17 years. One mistake? Hotel rooms don't book themselves repeatedly. Jewelry receipts don't magically appear. People don't accidentally fly to Mexico with their boss 3 days into a separation. Blocked. Then came the voice call I didn't expect. A woman's voice. Molly, hi, it's Camille. I froze. She kept talking. I think there's been a misunderstanding here. Daniel loves you very much. He just needed clarity, and this trip wasn't what you think. I hung up. Blocked. Mitchell nearly cackled when I forwarded him the voicemail. Mitchell. Excellent. Shows coordination between them. Save everything. I changed the locks the next morning. A locksmith arrived at 9:02 a.m. sharp. Kevin stood beside me, arms crossed, documenting everything. Photos, videos, timestamps, just like Mitchell told us. New deadbolts, new hardware, new keys. The house finally felt like mine again. For exactly 7 hours. Around 4:30 p.m., a car screeched to a stop in my driveway. Daniel. He got out still wearing vacation clothes, tan skin, sunglasses pushing back his hair, jaw clenched in fury. He walked straight to the door and jammed his key into the lock. It didn't turn. He tried again, harder, then harder. Then, bam, 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 bam. Molly, open the door. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, recording everything. This is my house too. Open the damn door. I said nothing. He pounded harder. I know you can hear me. Stop being childish. Still nothing. If you don't open this door right now, I'm calling the police. Funny. He had no idea what the judge would say about abandonment of the marital home. He pounded again. Molly, stop this. Finally, I sent one single text. All communication goes through my attorney, Mitchell Hayes. His number is in the papers you were served. He read it instantly. Then he screamed, You're unbelievable. I hit block. He stood on the porch for almost 5 minutes before finally stomping back to his car and peeling out of the driveway like a furious teenager. Kevin peeked out the window. Well, he said dryly, that went about how I expected. The meltdown went public. 2 hours later, my phone lit up again, this time from Daniel's mother. Molly, what is going on? Daniel says you blindsided him, locked him out, filed for divorce out of nowhere. I inhaled deeply. Did he mention he went to Mexico with Camille 3 days into our separation? Silence so heavy it hummed. Then, he said that was a work trip. A work trip where they posted sunset photos together, where they toasted champagne, where she called me personally to smooth things over. Her voice cracked just slightly. I didn't know about that. You do now. Her tone shifted from worried to defensive. Well, he's still my son. And he was my husband, I said, until he wasn't. We haven't spoken since. The temporary orders hearing. It took a week to schedule. Daniel showed up looking like a man who hadn't slept. Rumpled shirt, hair a mess, jaw tight. Camille wasn't with him, but the scent of her involvement lingered like cheap perfume. His attorney looked young, too young, overwhelmed by the stack of binders Mitchell placed on the table. The judge reviewed everything. The photos, the timeline, the hotel receipts, the jewelry, the flowers, the Instagram posts, Camille's voicemail. Daniel kept trying to interject. It's not what it looks like. We were confused. She's blowing things out of proportion. The judge cut him off sharply. Mr. Mills, please answer only the questions asked. When she asked, Did you or did you not go to Mexico with your boss during this separation? Daniel opened his mouth, closed it, then muttered, Yes. That was it. The judge granted me temporary exclusive use of the house, frozen joint accounts, restrictions preventing Daniel from using any marital credit cards, supervised retrieval of his personal belongings, only judicial note that his behavior will affect final asset division. Daniel slumped like someone had cut his strings. Mitchell packed up the binders calmly. Well, he whispered as we walked out, that went even better than expected. And for the first time since Daniel had walked out with his pre-packed suitcase, I felt safe. The week after the temporary orders hearing felt unreal, like living in a house that finally stopped shaking after months of silent earthquakes. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe without wondering what version of Daniel would walk through the door. But peace doesn't last long when someone like Daniel is involved. The morning after the hearing, Mitchell called. His attorney contacted me at 7:15 a.m., he said. They want to discuss settlement options. I almost laughed. Of course they did. They'd seen the judge's face. They'd seen the evidence. They knew exactly how badly this could end for Daniel if he kept pushing. Let them stew a little, Mitchell added. Just because they're desperate doesn't mean we rush. And stew they did. The parking lot confrontation. 3 days after the hearing, Daniel showed up at my workplace. Security called my desk. Molly, there's a man here demanding to see you. Says he's your husband. My ex-husband, I corrected automatically. Please escort him out. I watched from the glass balcony as two security guards guided Daniel toward the exit. His face was flushed red, his gestures dramatic. He looked like a toddler being dragged away from a toy aisle. He didn't leave quietly. He waited, because when I walked out to my truck that evening, there he was, leaning against the hood of his rental car, arms crossed, jaw set. "Molly," he said, stepping in front of me, "we need to talk." "No, we don't." "This has gone too far." He grabbed my truck door before I could open it. "You blindsided me with the divorce. You locked me out of the house. You humiliated me in front of a judge." I stared at him, deadpan. "You took another woman to Mexico, Daniel." He flinched like the words slapped him. "That trip wasn't what you think. It was exactly what I think." He ran a hand through his hair. "We were just confused. Camille was helping me sort things out." "While touching your waist on a beach at sunset?" His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Molly, I love you. You can't just throw away 17 years. I stepped closer, my voice low and steady. "You threw it away. I just picked it up and put it in the trash where it belonged." His eyes shimmered. Anger or tears, I couldn't tell. "You're being cold." "No, I'm being clear." I pulled the truck door open. He grabbed it again. I locked eyes with him, my voice sharper this time. "Now you're grabbing my vehicle without permission. Let go, Daniel. Last warning." His hand slid off the door. "Please," he whispered. "Just give me 5 minutes." "You've had 17 years of minutes." I got into my truck and shut the door. As I drove away, he stood there in the fading light, small and defeated, like the world he built for himself had finally collapsed, and he had no one to blame but the woman in the mirror. The mother-in-law call. Later that night, my phone lit up. Daniel's mom. I answered out of habit. I instantly regretted. "Molly," she snapped before I could speak. "What on earth is going on?" "I'm sure Daniel told you." "He said you locked him out and filed for divorce over a silly misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding." I almost laughed. "Did he tell you where he's been the last week?" I asked quietly. Silence. "Did he mention the beach photos, the champagne, the hotel receipts, the jewelry, the fact that Camille called me personally?" More silence. Then, a tiny voice. "He said that was a team-building trip." "He lied," I said simply, "and he's been lying for months." Her breathing hitched. "Well, he's my son. I have to support him." "And I had to support myself," I replied, something Daniel never learned to do. She didn't call again. Settlement begins. By Monday, Mitchell called with an update. "His attorney is scrambling," he said. "They want a quick resolution. They're trying to frame Daniel as emotionally vulnerable and misled by his superior." "Camille?" I asked flatly. "Yes," Mitchell said, smirking. "Apparently she's now the villain in their story." "How convenient." "Indeed, but none of that matters. We have evidence of a long-term affair, abandonment of the marital home, and misuse of marital funds. They know it. We know it." "What are they proposing?" Mitchell snorted. "A 50-50 split on everything." I actually laughed. "Not a chance." "That was my answer as well," he said. "We're countering with terms that reflect reality." Supervised retrieval of his belongings. The following Thursday, Daniel came to gather his things, with a court-appointed supervisor. He arrived in a U-Haul and sunglasses, trying too hard to look composed. I stayed inside with a mug of tea while the supervisor walked him through the house, reminding him repeatedly, "That belongs to her. Put it down. Not yours. Leave it. Sir, that is community property, not personal property." Several minutes later, I heard Daniel snapping, "Everything in this house is mine. She wouldn't have any of this without me." The supervisor responded calmly, "Sir, records show she paid the mortgage alone for 8 years. Daniel went quiet after that. He loaded his clothes, personal electronics, and a few boxes of sentimental items from the basement. He left the furniture, appliances, decor, kitchenware, all the things he thought we'd fight over. There was no fight. I didn't want anything touched by his excuses. As he carried out the last box, he paused in the doorway. "Molly, if we could just talk." I didn't even turn around. "There's nothing left to talk about." He lingered a moment, then he left. For good. The most important call. 3 days later, Mitchell called. "His attorney just offered a new settlement proposal," he said, voice dripping with amusement. "A very generous one. For us." He read it aloud. "Molly keeps the house. Daniel receives only 10% of equity. Each retains their own retirement accounts. No equalization. Daniel receives a small lump sum to purchase a vehicle. No alimony. No spousal support. No claims on Molly's future earnings." "It's the best deal they'll offer," Mitchell said. "And you deserve it." I exhaled. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't revenge. It was relief. warm and steady and final. "What do I need to sign?" I asked. And that was it. When I hung up, I looked around my quiet living room. The plants, the bookshelves, the soft lamps casting warm light across the floors. My home, my peace, my clean slate. And for the first time in 17 years, I felt free. The settlement wrapped faster than I ever expected. 6 weeks of back and forth proposals, revisions, financial disclosures, and tense emails later, Mitchell called me with the final documents. "It's done," he said. "All that's left is your signature." I stared at the papers spread across my dining table, the same table where Daniel and I used to eat dinner, pay bills, talk about nothing and everything. Now it held the end of our marriage in neat legal formatting. I picked up the pen. I didn't cry, not once. I signed my name, Molly Mills, again and again until the entire packet was complete. Mitchell collected the documents, flipped through them with a meticulous eye, then looked up at me. "You handled this with more composure than most people I've met in 25 years of family law." "Thank you," I said quietly. "You ready to move forward?" I nodded. "Good," he said. "Daniel will receive his copy tonight. Brace yourself, he won't take it well." I expected that. What I didn't expect was everything that followed. The last meltdown. Daniel showed up at my house one final time. The porch camera caught him pacing back and forth, hair disheveled, jaw tight, hands buried in his hair like he was trying to physically hold himself together. He rang the doorbell twice, then banged on the door with the side of his fist. "Molly, open up!" I didn't move. The pounding grew louder. "This is ridiculous. I deserve to talk to you. You can't just sign everything and walk away." I texted him through the doorbell mic feature. "Talk to your lawyer, Daniel." He froze, looked up at the camera as if he could see right through it and into my eyes. "Molly, please, I made a mistake." I didn't answer. "Camille and I, it got complicated, okay? But you and I, we have history." "History, not future." He tried again, softer. "Can you just open the door? Let me see you?" "No." The last time I opened a door for him, he walked out with a suitcase and left me with silence. I owed him nothing. He eventually walked back to his car, shoulders hunched, defeated. He didn't return again. His family's last attempt. 2 days later, I got a call from Daniel's sister, Karen. She'd always been the sanest one in the family, the one who'd quietly apologize after his mother's passive-aggressive holiday comments or Daniel's chaotic outbursts. "Molly," she said gently, "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." "For what?" "For everything. For what he did. For how our mother spoke to you. For the lies he's been telling." I closed my eyes. "What lies?" "He told everyone you blindsided him, that you filed behind his back after a stupid argument, that you misinterpreted the Mexico trip." I let out a humorless laugh. "Did he show anyone the photos? The hotel receipts? The jewelry purchase?" "No," she said immediately. "He left all that out, but Mom found the screenshots you sent her." "Ah." That explained the cold silence from my mother-in-law. Karen took a shaky breath. I'm glad you're getting out. You deserve better." Her voice cracked, and for a moment I felt a familiar ache, not for Daniel, but for the people who loved him even when he didn't deserve it. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Really." The final court date. The courtroom felt smaller this time, quieter, more final. Daniel sat across from me at the petitioner's table, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Eyes tired, suit rumpled, shoulders sagging. His attorney looked exhausted too, probably from trying to spin an affair into an emotional crisis. When the judge entered, everyone stood. She reviewed the settlement paperwork, adjusted her glasses, and signed the final order with a single stroke of her pen. "This marriage is dissolved," she declared. Just like that. 17 years. Over. Daniel didn't look at me. Not once. And I didn't look at him either. As we walked out of the courtroom, Mitchell leaned in. "It's officially over. Congratulations, Ms. Mills." "Thank you," I whispered. "When you're ready," he said with a kind smile, "go live your life." I intended to. Christmas without him. December arrived quietly, with early snow and the kind of stillness that wraps around you like a blanket. I spent Christmas at my parents' house, surrounded by warmth and laughter and peppermint tea and my brother's terrible Christmas sweaters. For the first time in years, I wasn't tense over Daniel's moods or snide comments or awkward excuses. At dinner, my dad raised his glass. "To Molly," he said, voice steady and proud, "for finding her strength and for coming home." I didn't expect it, but tears filled my eyes. Hot, cleansing, grateful. This was peace. This was family. This was mine. The quiet New Year. On New Year's Eve, I sat on my sofa, wrapped in a blanket, watching the lights of downtown sparkle through my window. I made myself a cup of chamomile tea and lit a candle that smelled like bergamot and cedar. No noise, no chaos, no crisis. Just me. Just stillness. Just freedom. At midnight, fireworks burst across the sky. I whispered the first words of my new chapter. Here's to the life I deserve. And I meant every single one. Epilogue. The clean slate. People always say divorce is the end of something. But for me, it was the beginning. The beginning of choosing myself. The beginning of creating a home that felt peaceful, not precarious. The beginning of waking up without wondering what version of a partner I'd face that day. The beginning of rediscovering who I was, not as someone's wife, not as someone's emotional support system, not as someone's afterthought, but as Molly. Just Molly. Whole, steady, free.